How's it going, guys? Casey here with the Coyote Works channel. Happy to bring you guys along on another weekend adventure. This one's going to be a little bit different trip than what you guys are used to. But to make a long story short, what you're going to see on this trip is a little more time in camp, a little more detail on a more robust camp setup than I normally do. I've got a little more gear along and some different stuff. Threw in the cast iron, so when I do a little cooking this evening, you'll see a little bit more elaborate of a meal. We'll do a little bit of exploring like we normally do, but right now it is hot. Probably be up north of 90 by the end of the afternoon today. I'm up in this chunk of country that I really like, up way high up in the Ochoco Mountains. I'm up on the crest of this ridgeline that separates the North Fork of a local river from the South Fork. And there was a lot of Native American activity up here, a lot of history up in this country. You guys have seen little pieces of it before in my videos. One of the interesting things about this area up here is it's up near something that was called the Deadline. And back around the early 1900s, this was kind of the area where the sheep grazers or the sheepmen pushed their sheep up in to graze some of the higher country in the Ochocos, and also the cattlemen did. And there was some friction between the cattlemen and the sheepmen. They both had kind of differing philosophies on how to use the grazing. They both had opinions on which animals were better or worse for the environment for grazing. So to make a long story short, the cattlemen didn't like the sheepmen, and they had kind of a vigilante group set up. So they had what they called the Sheep Shooters Association, and their edict was that any sheep that were past the deadline up here would be shot on sight. And really, any of the shepherds or any of the hands that were in charge of the sheep were putting their life at risk too if they grazed across the deadline. It was a high priority for me to find a spot to camp, get my camp set up, and settled in fairly early in the day. I was really looking forward to doing some nice camp cooking and really just spending some time around camp relaxing, enjoying the cooler temperatures of the higher elevation. But on my way there, I wanted to make a side trip down and check out a little camp spot that's one of my favorites in all of the Ochoco Mountains. For years, this has been one of those pristine little spots that I had down on the river that very few other people ever got to. But in recent years, like a lot of other places, it's starting to get discovered and it's been seeing a little bit more use. So I wanted to just take a quick drive through there and see how many people it looked like had been using it over the summer. I was relieved to see once I got down on the river that it looked like very few people had been in there over the course of the summer. So after my side trip down to the river, I headed back up on top of the breaks and started looking for a campsite again. Alright, this is like a miracle. It is 5:30 and I'm at my campsite, so found a pretty cool little camp spot here. I got a nice view out that direction. I don't know if the camera is showing up the view, so like I said, it's about 5:30, so I got lots of time to just set up camp, get settled in here. As usual out here in Central Oregon, and especially up high in the mountains here, the wind's picking up this afternoon, so hopefully it won't ruin too much of the footage here. So I'm thinking set up the kitchen right out here. I've got a couple of tables and stuff to set up, so I'm going to get started so I've got some time to relax. So this is an old campsite that some people have camped at before, and I got a couple of nice logs here, and I'm going to make sure there's no rattlesnakes under them. Don't hear anything buzzing. So I'm going to repurpose one of these over there for my camp. I think that'll work just right. This will be the wash station. Alright, so one thing I do is I generally tie down or bungee down my load, and I've got a little bigger load this time than normally, but I've got a lot of stuff stacked underneath my table, and then I've got it bungeed down really tight, so that just holds it all down. It also helps keep it from rattling and vibrating. So a couple of notable pieces of gear. Obviously my table from Free Spirit Recreation, Go FSR, great table. People ask me questions about it in every video. I've got about 3-gallon jugs of water here. And then of course I've got 5 gallons in the container that I put out there. I'm running these Front Runner expander chairs that I got from Lola Overland. These things are awesome little chairs. And Lola Overland's got a lot of great gear too. And then I started running these South African ammo boxes, which I also got from Lola Overland. So if you guys remember, I used to have kind of a tough box. So I pulled everything out of that, and then I put everything inside that was in that, which is basically all my kitchen and my food. I've now stocked inside these. So that's working out. It gives me a little more space between the two of them. I like them. They've got points on them that I can anchor bungee cords to and things like that. Really durable, and they make actually decent little tabletop areas too. So then I brought this table along. It's actually just a cheap one that I got from Sportsman's Warehouse or something, but it actually works pretty good. And it's aluminum, so I can set hot pans on it and things. So the other table I have with me is this one that you guys see all the time from Free Spirit Recreation. And this has just been a bomb-proof table. It's really sturdy. So that'll give me a little more table space than I normally have. Alright, so I'm going to need a couple of stoves for dinner tonight. Usually I just carry my little single burner kind of backpacking stove, but I brought an extra stove along this time. Alright, so this is for all of you that have been giving me a hard time and saying that I need to cook with cast iron. So this is my cast iron cook set. So I have it all packaged up in a separate box, and I brought it along because actually I am going to use it for the dinner tonight. But what I have in here is I have 3 different cast iron pans. What I mostly use is a really small, like about an 8-inch skillet. Occasionally I'll use like the 6.5-inch skillet too, but I do also have a 10-inch skillet in here. Also in this box I have a brush and a scrubber for cleaning up the cast iron when it's done. So this is kind of my cast iron cook kit right in here. They just all wrap in this towel. I can use the towel for wiping them out and drying them, but also what it does is it keeps them from rattling inside the box inside my Jeep. So these are those South African ammo crates from Lola Overland. Alright, so I'm actually going to need 2 stoves tonight, so I'm going to pull out my other little Optimus Crux stove. I'm not going to need to use this for much. It's got a little butane left in there, but I will need to use it a little bit. I need to get that table leveled up too. Alright, so let me give you guys a little sneak preview as to what we got going on for dinner tonight. So, I marinated up some carne asada at home. So I took some, I think it was sirloin tip or some kind of a decent cut of meat. Diced it up, marinated it with some lime juice, some pico de gallo, a little bit of cilantro. And that's been marinating in the refrigerator for a couple of days. Then I got some tortillas here. I'll use a little grapeseed oil. I use grapeseed oil when I want a high temperature oil, so I want to get the pans kind of hot for both the tortillas and for the taco meat. So we're gonna have some tacos, and I got a few other special ingredients here too. Another new piece of kit I threw along on this trip is the Front Runner cook set. Another piece of gear that I scored from Lola Overland. So Josh, thanks for turning me on to that. So a lot of the stuff that you see here on this trip isn't necessarily stuff I'd bring on every single trip with me. But on a time like this, when I've got a little bit more time in camp and I want to have a little more elaborate of a meal, it's nice to have all this stuff. So I've pretty much, with a fairly minimal amount of gear, got a full kitchen set up here where I can do a multiple course meal and really pretty much anything I can do at my kitchen at home. Now I'm going to set up the rooftop tent real quick before I get started on dinner. I'm running the Free Spirit Recreation 55 High Country Series tent. this is where it's at. So that was probably about 45 minutes or so total camp setup time. Whole kitchen's ready, bed's ready and everything. And now the sun's starting to drop, everything's starting to get that golden hue to it. So just kicking back, taking a little break, having an aloe vera mango drink, and kind of enjoying the fruits of my labor. It's pretty windy right now. I was kind of hoping the wind would die down a little bit, which it typically does in the last hour before dark or so. So I thought I might wait till the wind dies down before I start cooking. Other than that, man, this is a pretty awesome spot. The view out there is just freaking incredible. So I'm going to go ahead and get the carne asada started. So basically what I'm going to do is I'll just get the pan heating. Yeah, looks like the burner's on, that's good. So I'm going to put just a touch of oil in it. I don't want too much oil, just enough to kind of coat the pan. Alright, so I got the pan kind of hot. Doesn't have to be super hot, just enough to kind of liquefy the oil a little bit. Now I'm going to put the carne asada in. Oh yeah, listen to that sizzle. We'll get a spatula. So I'm going to let this start simmering a little bit, and then I'll turn the heat down, and I'm just going to let it simmer for maybe a half hour or something like that. Alright, so the meat is done and it smells delicious. So I'm just going to set it off to the side. Use my universal pot holder here. That should stay nice and hot in that cast iron pan with the lid over it. Now I'm going to cook up some tortillas in here. So again, I'll just go in with just a splash of the grapeseed oil. We'll get this pan nice and hot so I can cook the tortillas fast. Alright, so I'm going to fry up a couple of these little tortillas, and I'll just do them a few at a time. So I have like 2 tacos at a time, so my tortillas don't get cold in between tacos. I'm still contending with a little wind here. So I'm going to heat up one more tortilla, and then we'll be into some tacos. Alright guys, so let's have us some tacos. So we'll get a little bit of meat. Then we've got some delicious goodies here to put on it. Get a little bit of habanero sauce, a little bit of cheese, a little sprig of cilantro, and then, because I believe in being as nutritious as I can, I'm going to have some delicious fresh fruit with it. Alright guys, I'm so excited for this. Delicious little street tacos, carne asada street tacos, some fresh cut fruit. Just perfect. That meat's nice and tender. Taco shells are just a little crispy. Alright, you guys are going to have to go away while I enjoy myself here. I'm going to eat about 15 of these. Alright, I'll just do some quick and easy cleanup here. I'm actually just going to rinse these dishes really good because I'm going to use them all again because I have got an amazing breakfast planned. I'm really outdoing myself on this breakfast tomorrow. Actually, I'm pretty pleased with myself for this, all the cooking on this whole trip. I guess it's par for the course. You guys know I'm like a chef out here. My cast iron, I'm just going to rinse it really good, wipe it down, and then I'm actually going to put a little water in it, set it back on the burner, and heat it up just to kill any germs or bacteria in it. Oh man, guys, that was just an amazing dinner. I got the kitchen all buttoned up, the dishes done. Took me about 10 minutes or so. And now I'm just kicking back, enjoying a delicious, refreshing blueberry mint kombucha. And enjoying the last little bit of the sunset going down over there. The wind is finally starting to die down a little bit, and I think it's going to end up being a really nice night. There's a beautiful kind of an orange glow in the sky over there. And I'm just going to kick back and enjoy the last few kind of minutes of the fading light. And then I'll probably crawl up into the rooftop tent and have a little nap. Oh, good morning, guys. I'm just off on a little morning walk. I'm actually about a mile or two probably from camp, and I didn't really mean to walk this far, but it's just such a beautiful morning, and this country is just amazing up here. So it's getting to be about 8 o'clock, and I think I'm gonna wander back to camp and start fixing up an amazing breakfast for us. Had a nice walk this morning, worked up a little bit of an appetite, and now I'm getting ready for breakfast. So what I've got here is I actually found these pre-made crepes that are frozen, and so I've never used them before, so we're going to give those a try. Again, it's going to be a really simple breakfast, but a really delicious breakfast. So the first thing I'm going to do is just a couple of drops of grapeseed oil in my pan, and right now the pan's heating up. So I'll give it a minute or two to heat up, then I'm going to cook the crepes in the pan, and then I'll show you guys what we're going to do with them. So the idea is that I'll just toss those in the pan and heat them up a little bit. Alright, so let's throw one of these guys in the pan and see how they go. Here we got a nice hot skillet. Ooh, I think these are going to be amazing, guys. Alright, I think this crepe's going to be nice and delicate. Perfect. I'm going to throw one more in there. Alright, so we're going to take these crepes, and we're going to fill them with a little bit of cream cheese, and we'll roll them. And we'll top them with a little fruit. Alright, so now we have a delicious breakfast. We have a cream cheese stuffed crepes with some fresh blueberries, mango, and strawberries. That's perfect. These crepes are actually really good. I was kind of skeptical about these frozen crepes, but the flavor's really good. And you get nice ripe fruit. So you get all the sweetness you need out of the fruit. Good nutritious breakfast. Delicious and really simple. And these are delicious. I'm probably going to eat about 6 more of them. So this is a new breakfast, and this is actually absolutely amazing. Another simple one that I'll add to my repertoire or my meal selection. This is really easy. Just throw these crepes in the pan, heat them up a little bit, and that's really the only cooking that's involved. Little pre-prep, slicing up the fresh fruit, and the combination is just really good. Alright, well, I had a good breakfast. Now I'm going to make up a little coffee to go. So I've been kind of on this cold brew kick lately. And then I got a little half and half here, so I can make me a nice, oh, it's not quite a breve latte, but it's close to it. Got a little ice inside my coffee cup. I fill it up with coffee. Add a little half and half. And now I got a nice iced latte for the road. I always like to make one up before I leave camp that I can take with me and drink. I did that little walk this morning and I didn't really find a lot for historical things or arrowheads. So I think what I'm going to do is tear down camp, pack up, and then drive a little ways, and we'll start exploring some of these draws that break over to the other side, because those were areas where a lot of the natives traveled back and forth. I've got the North Fork of a river over there, and I've got the South Fork of it over there, and I'm kind of on the divide in between the two. And it's a natural place for game to cross back and forth. Historically, it's been hunting grounds for both the Native Americans and the earlier settlers, so we're going to take off and see if we can't find some interesting stuff down there. Alright, so I'm just starting to pack up camp here, but I wanted to show you guys two things. One, the way I kind of bushcrafted up a little rack to hang my silverware, and then two, I just wanted to do another shout out to Lolo Overland. They carry all this front runner gear, and I've got quite a few pieces of it. These front runner expander chairs, the South African ammo boxes, I can't remember what they're called on Front Runner, but this is actually really handy. It's a complete set of silverware, 4 fork spoons, big spoons, serving spoons, spatulas, the whole works. So it's kind of cool, and then it's really compact. It folds up in a little roll. So huge shout out to Lolo Overland for just carrying some top-notch gear. And I'm just going to fold that over, and then it just rolls up. Couple little buckles right here, and there it is. You got every cooking utensil that you could possibly need out here, along with a cutting board and a few other things. Alright, so I just jumped out of the Jeep because I saw a little glint out here, and I'm coming across all kinds of little obsidian chips. So there was some pretty good Native American activity in here. So I'm going to walk around, and I'm thinking potentially camp. So I'm going to check it out and see if I can figure out a little more what was going on here. But this might be a good area to kind of walk around. We might find some neat artifacts in here. All right, so I've been picking up seeing little signs of artifacts and stuff all over in here. And of course, I'm leaving them all behind. I haven't seen anything really unique yet, but definitely this area in here was heavily used. And I'm just in kind of a little saddle that passes across from one drainage over to the other drainage. And I'm thinking this was just prime hunting grounds. This would be someplace where I would hunt now. But I've walked about, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile or something, and I'm intermittently stumbling across flakes and bits and pieces of little scrapers and things all over in here. All right, guys, so we've got all these chips on the ground in here, and I've been picking them up, and I picked up this little handful of them right here. But then I think I see something interesting, and we're going to see what it is together. Look how the sun's catching that right there. See how the sun's glinting off of that? Look at that. See that thinned base right there? So might have just this little corner broken off, but other than that, this one is pretty complete. Wow. We'll put that right back there for future generations. Very nice find. So that tells me we're in a good area in here. A lot of hunting going on in here. So after a couple hours of hiking around in the sun, it was time to start working my way back towards home. And as I often do, as I was driving home, I was reflecting upon the trip. It wasn't a very long trip, and it wasn't one of the most spectacular that I've been on. But I got to see some pretty amazing country, got to do some exploring, spent some time relaxing around camp, and got to enjoy a few meals in the great outdoors. And to me, those are all the important ingredients of a great weekend. Having my rig set up the way I do, with everything packed and ready to go, means that even when I only have a few days, I can still get a nice trip in. So I hope you guys all enjoyed coming along on this adventure. I appreciate all your support and everything you do for my channel. And I'll catch you guys all on the next adventure. Coyote Works, out.